Hey there, folks. You're very welcome. It's Martha Fraser here, and you're very welcome to the Online Business Coffee Break. And today we are in episode, I think, 12. And so basically, what we've been doing is we've been turning up every day, showing up, and just supporting people in this new abnormal way of living, which is becoming the normal, and just giving space for business owners to come on and to say hello and ask any questions about expanding your business online and see how you can use this time to grow. So I've been getting used to managing teaching the children and trying to fit it in and trying to fit in work and doing it well some days, not doing it well other days, and trying to learn and grow every day. So I think some of the ahas that we've had on the Online Business Coffee Break has been, um, it's just been nice, I think, for some people to come on and just create a space to just show up um, and just say what's on their mind. Share what's going on for them, what's going on for some of their customers and their clients. And I think the thing is as well is that it's not just you that's learning new technology. Some of your customers and your clients are learning new technology as well, and they're um, a lot of people are really going out of their comfort zone. So I guess, one of the things that we spoke about yesterday was how we can use this time. Like one of our guests yesterday said, she didn't want to waste the time. And last night then I read an article, cannot remember. I just clicked on something, don't know where the article was. And I just read this article last night. And hey, Tracy, you're very welcome today. So the article last night was talking about how we are being, and how we can use this, how we can use this time differently, because like we've broken out of the doing. And one of the things he was saying was that what an awful waste of this time if we just, you know, like setting goals for our Corona time is fantastic, but how about we try be a different way, as opposed to all being so busy doing and busy, that we actually allow the space to take up space and that we were to be in a different way. So that was the article I read last night. I thought it was really good. So Tracy, I'm not too sure if you want to come on today. You're more than, oh, there you are. There you are. Hello. I'm admiring your eyebrows.
My daughter was slagging off my eyebrows last night, telling me that this one looked like a bridge.
Did you do it yourself? Because
Yeah.
mine are seriously bushy now. And I'm going au naturel.
There's nobody else on this call.
Yeah, it is recorded though, by the way. It is recorded.
I did a little bit of threading myself over the weekend.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were you able to do it? Wow.
I can do a bit. I know how to do it, but I seem to be better using my left hand than my right hand. So
wow.
It's not
So
perfect, but I wouldn't go after my eyebrows now. Yeah, I'm afraid I've got the old 90s eyebrows where I overplucked them and they never grew back. But
oh yeah.
Grey hairs and everything.
I know. Look, we just have to embrace the natural.
We're all in it together,
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody's looking beautiful at the moment, so
no, exactly. But no. So what I was just saying there, Tracy, just before you came on, was I was just reading this article yesterday on the Online Business Coffee Break. We're talking about a lot of things, but one of the things that one of the guests was talking about was she didn't want to waste the Corona time. Right, and because we were talking about expanding our businesses online and using it as a time to grow our business, even if the business growth in cash flow may not be as good as before, making use of the time. But this article I read last night, it was brilliant. It was so well written, and I have no idea where I clicked on it and then I clicked out of it. I can't remember. I think it was on some New York newspaper or something. But anyway, so basically what they were saying was, using this time to take up space in a different way, to get out of the busy and the doing and to be in the be,
Yeah.
being, and when I read it, it just made me just pause. It just really made me pause and kind of do a bit of self-reflection, because especially for anyone who's trying to teach children at home at the moment, I've done a timetable, and there's very little me in that timetable, and yeah. So what are your
I
thoughts?
think you should listen to there was a child psychologist on with Dermot and Dave yesterday morning.
Yes.
And I didn't catch all of it, but they will have the podcast. And she basically was saying kids shouldn't be doing schoolwork at all at this time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Why did she say that?
Because, and I suppose I kind of was of the mindset, my kids are a little bit older, Oscar's 14 and Amelia's 12. And I have never been one for sitting doing homework with kids,
Mm.
because it makes us all anxious and it makes us all hate each other. And I can remember my mother trying to drill spelling into me, and you know what, I still can't spell, and I just remember that time as being so miserable. I hated it, trying
Mm.
to remember something and it just wouldn't stay in there. And I guess I think we live in a world where we're so hurry up, get to school, hurry up and finish school, hurry up and do this. And what we're doing is we're kind of teaching our kids that you have to have all your learning has to go into up to you finish college.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we're developing a society of people who are coming out, myself included, who stop learning as soon as they've finished their qualification and start a job. Whereas my thing is they have a whole lifetime to
Mm.
be learning if they're taught that you should never stop wanting to learn and wanting to grow. And, sorry, I just turn this down. Turn my phone on silent. I was supposed to have a one-to-one with somebody and she didn't turn up, so that's why I was late coming on the call. So I don't know. Mine, they do their bit, but I'm not sitting over them watching them, because it just ends up in me going, "Would you not write it this way? Would you not do it this way?" And my son telling me to politely leave.
Yeah.
So politely.
And it's funny because like I found, and it's my littlest one who's 7. I've actually enjoyed it because she's on the tricky word stage, right? So we just made up a game. We made snap cards and we got a song from YouTube. So we sing a song and we play a game. And I have to say, I've actually enjoyed kind of the arts and crafts of the learning side of actually, because the first few days I was like running in and out trying to work and do the lessons. And then I said, okay, let's just sit down. Let's set aside this hour. So we're kind of do an hour and a half in the morning. And I have actually enjoyed doing that part with her because it's easy. Whereas the homework for my older girl, she kind of does it herself. Now the reading with her, she does need a bit more support. But it made me realize, Tracy, how little time I had actually been sitting down with them before that. Actually fully present, 100%
Yes.
turned on. Whereas before I'd be like, we'd have just gotten back from somewhere, cooking the dinner, try and get this done, and like literally not in any actual time warp of any dimension, but floating between 10 different dimensions of time, and so I really feel this guy's article and kind of what you're saying is, I think we just have to look at it like this is an amazing opportunity, time of reflection of how we're living,
Well, when Oscar was it Maura, our first class, he was very sick. He has Crohn's, and he missed most of that year.
Yeah.
I didn't keep him back. We did some stuff at home, like maybe a half an hour a day, but he's not behind because of, it didn't do him any harm. And I think our kids are all they'll all be a little bit behind going back together. They'll be grand. Now maybe the teachers would hate to hear me saying that, but I just think they'll all be fine.
They will all be fine. And it's funny, they watched actually the TV on the TV today, or the school channel on the TV today. It was actually really good. And it was like 10-minute classes. Like yesterday was about erosion, today was about electricity and conductors, and they actually, and then another teacher did clapping to music notes. They're sitting out there clapping along. And I actually said they could possibly learn more.
Yeah.
Like, because they're doing it in such a different way. And maybe not learn more, but learn, I suppose, a variety, a wider, maybe, I don't know, a wider range. But so yeah, so I think for business owners who are going through this right now, because I think we can't be too hard on ourselves, because you're trying to manage the stress of keeping your business going, trying to manage the children. And I think it's okay to just let things, it's okay to be okay with whatever the fuck is going on in your
Yeah.
life, you know. Uh,
When was it last week on the call, you mentioned about how, for some people, this is going to be the worst thing that they ever go through. And it really stuck with me because I'm grand. Like this has been like water off a duck's back for me. But when you made, and I was just like, God, people are getting so worked up. And then I realized, that is because I have been through way worse than this
yeah,
over the last 10 years. This is a walk in the park. So I've had an opportunity to build that resilience. And
yeah,
that's really where it comes from. But I agree with you. And yes, I do understand that, okay, there are people on the front line, and there are still people out there who don't have the luxury of this time. But a
mm,
lot of people do. And if they don't use, this is a time for personal development. This is a time for growth. And if they let it slip them by, I just think it really is a terrible missed opportunity.
yeah.
And
And like, let's say, looking at the kind of work that you do, Tracy, what would be your advice to people right now, kind of, because let's say you do, let's say, success coaching,
Mhm.
working with clients. What would be your advice for their corona success, let's call it that, right? Corona time success. Like, what would
I'm
you
all
say?
about good foundations. If you have a good foundational structure of that self belief and self worth, it makes things an awful lot easier. And for myself, growing my business, at every point, you come up against a new challenge, which is scary, and it's going to
Yeah,
push you out of your comfort zone. And for me, I've probably stopped, had to go back, work on building that confidence to then push me through to the next level.
mm,
So I kind of would be working a lot with people on strengthening their inner beliefs, because our belief system has such a powerful control over where we go and what we do, and it takes a long time to unravel old beliefs, and it's kind of it's a process that it needs the work. You got to do the work. That's what I often say. If you're not doing the work in terms of, sitting down, writing stuff out, giving yourself the space to think,
yeah,
start to tune in with your head. What kind of self-talk is going on in there? And really, in the stillness and in the silence, be present with your thoughts, but write them out. I'm all about, you got to write it out. You can't fix all that shit in your head. You have to take it out of there, put
yeah,
it out in front of you, see it in black and white, and really be present with it, and see how much it affects you and shapes you, and is pushing you or pulling you in the wrong direction an awful lot of the time. And you know because I can do it a lot faster now if I come up
mhm,
against a belief, because I have a system. I heard somebody talking about recently, are you growing? She said, at one point I was growing so fast I was having growing pains.
yeah.
And
I
when
can
we're
recognize that, actually. That's definitely.
when I'm removing old beliefs, I go through a phase for a couple of weeks of where I just feel irritable and agitated, and God, everybody's annoying me, and I just don't feel like myself. And then something will just pop, and it's literally, I often say it's like demons leaving my body.
Yeah,
And
I love that. I love
yeah,
that.
because
Yeah,
it feels like that.
yeah,
And then you've got space, you see, to build new beliefs. But like, they just are, they're so powerful, and often we don't recognize them. I go back sometimes, I'm like, especially with business, I've been doing a lot of, the money beliefs,
mm.
work around that. And like, they go back to childhood, that shit. Like,
Oh,
that
completely. Oh
goes
my God.
so deep. It really does.
Yeah, everything, everything. Yeah. But I love what you said there about the demons. leaving you, because like totally, like every level of, I suppose, our lives, and as we grow, you know, that phrase, new level, new devil. And there's always, I think, once you understand that, I remember thinking like the first couple of years when I was working for myself, like, okay, I'm just going to get this all figured out now. And that's it. Then I'm there.
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, there's another there, then there's another there. And that's actually the path. That's the journey. And that as we grow in our business, and like what you just said there, like as we what's the word, shed the snake skin of those
Mhm.
demons, you know, that it just brings us to a whole new level. But I think one of the biggest things for me, as I suppose, as I was growing in my mindset and growing in my business, was that once I actually realized that was the path, I stopped having the drama of the breakdowns and the breakthroughs, because I was like, oh, these are just the stepping stones. They're going
Mhm.
to be there. You might as well expect them. But I love what you said, the demons, because you do go through that icky phase.
Mm.
I think someone said, you know, I remember reading, I can't remember where I read it, but you know, sometimes you just have to eat a shit sandwich for a while, you
Yeah.
know.
And it's funny because I went through it recently, and I was a really good friend of mine. She's a massage therapist, but she does energy work as well. And she had found a spot on my neck. And as it was really, she was like, oh God, she said, whatever's coming out of that, she said, I actually feel nauseous, you know, what's coming out.
Yes.
And I was talking to her the next day, and she's like, "Oh, I don't feel well at all today. I've got the runs." And I was there. That is true friendship. You took all my toxic shit, and you literally crapped it out of you. You, thanks.
Oh my God, that is so funny. It was so fun. And it's so interesting as well how like physically our emotions can come across as symptoms, you know. And it's funny because I've had a shoulder thing. Actually, it's really weird. I've had a shoulder thing since last September. And I know exactly what it is.
Yeah,
Look,
bad juju, Martha, and it has to come out.
yeah, it really does. And yeah, and you know what I think as well, we have to get to the root. I love what you said. We have to get to the root of our own problems. We have to take that time, sit down, and actually, because one thing I did start, which I'm a little bit mad at myself, I started journaling 1st of January, and I was doing it every morning on my goals, every morning. And then do you know what? I'm looking around now. I don't even know where that freaking journal is.
Yeah.
And like I had a really nicely nailed process, and I want to go back to it now, because I think it is that part when we abandon the journaling where the deepest, we're about to hit on a big rock,
Mm.
and it's like, oh, I lost it somehow, you know. But yeah. So your advice is let people give themselves the time.
Mm.
So even if it's like 10-15 minutes, a half an hour probably would
Oh,
be.
I'm all about small, you know, giving yourself, because I think if you say to somebody you need to spend an hour a day, they're like, not a
I
chance.
know, yeah.
But if you do 10 minutes, I'm like, incremental 10 minutes of journaling maybe. I only write nice things in my journal. So if I'm doing what I call the declutter work, you know, where you're just
Mhm.
getting all that shit out of your head, I do that on crappy foolscap paper. That does not go into the nice journal. You don't want those
Yeah.
thoughts following you around.
Oh, that's a
Um,
good tip, actually. That's a
yeah,
good tip. Yeah.
especially if you journal at nighttime and you're leaving the notebook beside your bed, it needs to be at that time you write nice things in, you know, this happened today, your
Mm.
gratitude list, maybe
So the
things that
crappy
you
stuff in the morning and the good stuff at night.
kind of crappy stuff out in the morning on a fool's cap, throw it in the fire if you want. But the more, you know, we start to sift through it. And
Mm.
often, sometimes you sit and you've got a pen in your hand, and like, I don't know what to write. And you start, and you
So,
lift a lid and it starts to flow. And I think when you put it out, you're like, whoa, I did not realize I believed that about myself. I did not. And sometimes it's a bit painful because we realize how mean we are being to ourselves.
yeah, I know it's horrible, isn't it? Yeah, I mean,
It is horrible.
yeah, it is. So, like, if you were, because some people who are going to watch the replay of this are going to say, And we'll talk about business in a minute as well, because this is the online business break. But I think all of this stuff is important because I think when we're right on the inside, it comes out on the outside, and your business will go better. So for people who are really just beginning to discover their new beliefs, and they might go, I have no friggin' idea what my beliefs are. What are some questions they can ask themselves while they're journaling to discover what their beliefs are? Sorry, putting
Okay.
you on the spot now.
Yeah, no. Maybe it's you go back to asking yourself, what excuses am I making for this not happening? And because God knows I've come up with some right doozies of excuses myself. Oh well, I can't do that now because of this, and then afterwards you're like, God, that was such a load of horseshit.
Yeah.
um but it could be, what am I afraid of? Like, what are my deepest fears?
Oh, oh my God, did anyone else feel that? I felt that. What am I afraid of? Yeah, oh my God, I love that. Why am I not doing it? What am I afraid of?
Yeah.
What am I afraid of? Oh, here Kim is coming in. What am I afraid of achieving? What am I afraid of
Yeah.
losing out on? What am I afraid of gaining?
Mm. And like earlier this year, as
Food is here today. Hi Kim, you're very welcome. Valerie, you're very welcome as well. I can't see you. Can't see you, but really great conversation.
uh, we can equally be as afraid of success as we are of failure.
Oh yeah, totally, totally, yeah.
I
And
know that happened to me last year when I was like, oh, this shit's real. This is, I can actually see this starting to, this is taking shape now. It was in my head and it was a dream for a long time, but now I can actually see it's a possibility. And I just like, oh crap.
yeah. And it's funny because I had the exact same, I went through the exact same. I remember where I was standing, actually. I was standing out in our utility room. I seem to live in our utility room. Hi, Chloe. And I was standing out in the utility room, and I remember it just kind of came over me. I had this failure, or not this failure, this fear of like losing my friends. And I didn't realize how important that was to me. But then, like, to be honest, what I've realized since then is you don't lose friends, you gain a whole new community of people as well as your current friends, Now there will be people who will have judgments,
Yeah.
and they may go in a different direction or back away from you. And that's okay, because you'll have gained such a new community of people. But I love that. That kind of self-awareness. That's brilliant. It's really, I think that's really powerful. And I think, do you know what, these are questions we can ask in this corona time. We're kind of coming off the back of our conversation yesterday, Kim, and I was just saying about the article I read last night about using the corona time not just to be doing but to be being, and how we can kind of change ourselves on the inside. And Tracy's just come on today, and we just started talking about, journaling, maybe 10-15 minutes, making time for ourselves, taking journaling for 10 or 15 minutes. And then I was saying to how, for people who are not used to journaling, what are the questions they can ask? So then Tracy said, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
It's fucking such a great question. Bleep, excuse the
And I
curse.
do think, that's a question that you can just write down on a piece of paper and leave it beside where you're working, because the obvious answers will come out immediately, but the real deep ones, they might be a few days later or a week later that you're like, whoa, I never, like you said, I lose friends,
Yeah, totally. And I think, like, I know for when I was first starting, it was, I'll be seen,
Yes.
and not only that, but I know for myself, I will be seen, but I'll also be seen by myself.
Yes.
I was watching, what was I watching? I think on Sunday we had a lovely lazy family day. We were watching Simon Cowell's Golden Buzzer Moments, and it was brilliant because it was all the best acts. There was no shitty acts, so you really enjoyed it. And anyway, someone came on, and it was either on that show, it was one of those type of shows anyway. And someone came on and the host said, "Nice to see you." And she said, "Nice to be seen." And
Yeah.
I just thought that was brilliant, because that's what, everyone wants to be heard, everyone wants to be seen, and everyone, but it's only until, like, I suppose that's one of my big parts of my work, is helping people shine and helping myself shine as well. But like helping us see ourselves, helping us see ourselves, be ourselves, and so that you can help others. And the more that we can be and see ourselves and really be our absolutely amazing self, that's when we can really help others. When we go to that kind of like the outer limits. I'm delighted Buddha has joined us today, because we're having such an existential conversation.
That's
It's
my
perfect.
routine since yesterday. Now I cover over my dance banner with this at night
Oh,
time.
fantastic. And does it make it, well, I bet you can still see it peeping over the
Yeah,
top.
I had it out for a video and I didn't switch it back just yet. But like
Oh,
any
yeah, yeah,
time now when I'm finished, like, I just slide that one.
brilliant.
There's a little bit at the top.
Well, that's brilliant, because yesterday we were talking about boundaries, Tracy. We were talking about our new boundaries that we're creating. And one of the boundaries I was saying was, visually, I was saying to Kim, put that roll up down, because you're seeing it all the time. You're never shutting off.
Mhm.
So, and it's funny actually, because this is really weird. I have 4 photos here. I don't know whether I'm going to share them or not. I have a collection of photos here, right? And it's weird, because some of them are from when I was really young, right? But when I look at it, okay, I'm going to share it, right? Hang on.
Share it. Share it, share it, share it.
So this is on my desk, right? So this is my Holy Communion.
Ah.
Right, and that was, I don't know what that's off, and that was, I don't know, we were at a wedding or something. That's me and John, okay.
Wow.
And but
Beautiful.
what I like looking at it is, I feel like I'm looking at my timeline every day. And I need to add on a new one now, because they're quite old actually, but it just makes me remember who I was as a child.
Yeah.
And there was a guy actually, I was at an event once, and this amazing guy, he said to me one day, actually, I think that's why I actually did it. He said, "You need to put a photo of your child, or you as a child, up, and you need to look at." There was a bit of obviously inner child healing I had to do, right? And it's funny just having it there. Like when I take it away now, it actually feels a bit of blank. Whereas I feel like I'm looking at the various multi dimensions of myself, right? And kind of like, what's going to be the next photo? What am I creating next?
Mhm.
Do you know? And it's just, and not to forget. I feel not to forget the child. Like when I look at those really young photos, that was my eldest sister, who's in this one, and there's a clatter of us, and she was working obviously on the day of my communion. She's a hairdresser, or was a hairdresser, so she couldn't come, right? And not to forget the playfulness of who we were, and to kind of bring it into today. But yeah, so look at, I think, do you know what, this has been an amazing conversation, because I think it helps us, well, it's helped me anyway, just remember. And it's a perfect add-on to that article I read last night about taking that 10 or 15 minutes. I'm actually going to take that, I'm going to journal in the mornings, get back to my journaling, because I was saying to Tracy there, I was doing it, I did it for I think most of January and February, and then March it just collapsed. But so before we go any further, we normally do a round robin of who we are, what we do. Tracy, halfway through the conversation, tell us who you are, what your website is, and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Tracy Geraghty. I'm a success coach. I help people to have more success without all of the stress. My website is tracygeraghty.com.
Perfect. And what do people normally come to you for? What's their biggest problems?
They come to me with a bullshit story. There's always a story. Oh, well, this happened, and and I listen for a few minutes, and then I just kind of go, okay, stop, because it's always something deeper underneath. And I think the word that I nearly always use with people is disconnect. and they kind of go, actually, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I feel disconnected.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I would aspire to do is to help people to connect with their higher consciousness, to connect with themselves on a deeper level. I
Mm.
think we live in a very outside world where we're allowing external influences to dictate the life that we lead, what we believe to be true about ourselves. And people often end up, they're very unhappy because they're doing what they think they're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And they're just not thinking very well. They're not using their thought very effectively. Whereas when you can go up a little bit beyond the thought, get rid of all those negative beliefs, the clutter. It's like going into a messy room and trying to find something, and there's boxes and bags and stuff shoved in every corner, and you're looking for a tiny little thimble or something.
Mhm.
So, in order to connect more with our higher self, we need to clear out all the clutter. And the clutter are the stories, a lot of the stories. I was
Mhm.
actually on a call last night. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Neal. He's a three principles coach. And one of the things that he said, I wrote it down, it's here. 100% of our experience comes from our thought. 0% of our experience comes from circumstance.
Very good. That's like the you know, the story of the two boys who came from a broken home. One was successful and one wasn't, and they both had the same answer. Why were you? And it said, because I came from a broken home.
Yes.
That's brilliant. And it's so true. You know, so I think like going on the conversation we've just had, using this time to discover our thoughts, discover ourselves, take that time out, take Tracy's advice for the 10 or 15 minutes journaling and just ask yourself, I think ask yourself, you know, those questions we talked about. I might put them in a recap after this in the notes. You know, what are you afraid of? What are you excited about, actually? That's
Yeah.
another good one, isn't it?
And a lot of people, I ask them, what do you want? What do you want more of? And they don't
Mm,
know. They don't know what they want because they're so focused on what they don't want. And they keep talking about, and this keeps happening, and this, and it's like, but you're just attracting more and more of it into your life because that's
yeah.
all your thought, our thought creates our reality. And if we're thinking about all our problems, we're just creating more of them.
And you can be addicted to trauma as well, right? A friend of mine said it to me once, actually embarrassed to say it now, but you, I know for myself, you can get into a pattern of, because I feel this is what I've discovered, is that if you've grown up in a pattern of a way of being, you continue that pattern. Um, you know, for me anyway, in certain things that I've done, I actually stopped one day and I went, Jesus Christ, I'm still doing on a much larger scale, obviously, and in a very adult way. But I said, I can still see the childhood patterns popping out. It was only one day, I don't know what it clicked with me, and I went, okay, it was brilliant because the minute I realized it, I stopped it.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose it's what I like to call is taking that 3 foot awareness, stand back from yourself, take a good look. You know, what are your
Not
patterns?
judgmentally. And that's the key.
Well,
And
yeah, that's the one I'm probably not too good at.
yeah, and all of the journaling and all the exercises, you know, I always say this is about you hovering above yourself with love and compassion, not an
Mm,
exercise and beat the crap out of yourself because you've, oh, I'm such a fucking idiot, I did this or I did that. That's not the point. We further
yeah,
disconnect. It's just about, I lovingly look at thoughts that I have of myself and patterns that I have. I discovered recently that I'd made myself a martyr, you know, and it was like, because I'm fine, I can fix everything, I'm independent, I don't need anybody, I'll do everything myself, I can fix any problem, I'm strong. And just shit kept happening to me until one day I went, why does all this crap keep happening to me? And it's like, oh, because you've told the universe you can fix anything they throw at you, so they're like, okay, here's more of it.
that is so good. That is so so good, and it's so true as well. We don't have to do everything ourselves, you know. Yeah, and actually that happened myself actually there recently, just in say here in the house, you know, himself was only emptying the dishwasher, and I said, leave it. I said, I'll do it. And I said, why do you think you have to do everything yourself? And it was only the dishwasher, but it's amazing what it
Yeah.
symbolized, right? And I suppose probably because I prefer when everyone's gone out and I can just do it in peace and quiet, right? Maybe I'm just creating quiet time, and you know what? It doesn't have to be the dishwasher for quiet time, you know.
No, it does not, Martha. There are other nicer things you can do for quiet time.
Exactly. But yeah, so I think, Valerie, if you're watching, if you've anything if you want to come in, you're more than welcome to turn on your video. If you have any questions or anything like that. I think Kim is taking a call there. So let's talk about. I've just loved this conversation. Thanks, Tracy. So let's talk about business. Let's talk about online. Let's talk about. So how are you doing, Tracy? Let's say with the new way of things going. Have you pivoted? Have you just taken time out, or what have you chosen?
Well, a little bit of both. I've taken a bit of time out, but I'm still kind of creating. I'm just trying to do it with a nicer flow, because in the past I've always had I need, and trying to force things into place. A couple of opportunities came up that that I'm kind of they're evolving or developing, and yeah, I guess the online stuff, I'm just trying to do it in a way that I still feel like I'm being authentic to myself. And there was something that just wasn't, I don't know what it was. And it probably was a fear thing as well. It's not about the going out there. I think for me, it's about nobody showing up.
Well, can I tell you, when you came on today, I was talking. There was no one here, but I started.
Yeah.
And were you here the day I was talking about the story of the fitness instructor?
No.
A mentor of mine a couple of months ago, she shared on her Facebook. She was in Spain one time, and you know, sitting alongside the pool, and the fitness instructor turned up for the aqua aerobics class. There was no one in the pool, and she just she started the class shouting at an empty pool as though it was packed, and slowly but surely people came along. And every time I come on this call, to be honest, to be fair, most times people are on it. Yesterday and today there has been no one on it, and I said, I'm doing the call anyway. I'm sharing a lesson, I'm doing something. It might be 15 minutes, it may not be the full 45 minutes or hour that we normally do, but I said I'm starting. And every day people pop on, and it gives me, I have to say, since I heard that story, it gives me a great sense of, you're doing it anyway. You're not doing it for, you know, because the thing is, someone may watch the recording, because I said to myself, well, what's the point? Well, I'm putting the recordings out anyway. Someone may watch my little solo chat and get something out of it, right? And if not, it's just, and even if nobody watches it, it's still exercised my muscle of showing up. And here's one other thing. I shared this with you. I was watching, I do love these shows. I was watching American Idol, right? And Lionel Richie, who I absolutely adore. I just think he's amazing, right? And there was a girl anyway, and she was breaking, or your man just, he flipped out, he lost the plot, he just couldn't perform, the stress and the nerves got to him. And Lionel Richie said, you may quit backstage, you may quit at home, but you never quit on the stage. And I just thought, oh my God, what a fantastic line. I just thought it was brilliant, you know. And I just, you know what, it just showing up, even if nobody turns up, even if nobody watches your videos, just because what you're doing is you're creating content, you're accumulating content for when people do show up. And even if not, you're creating that legacy, you know. So they're the lessons that I've learned. I don't know, I hope that helps, does it?
Yeah, it does. And I think for me, I've always dipped a toe in, and maybe had expectations that weren't met, and then it's pushed me back. And I do come back again, but I leave the gaps too long.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I've done workshops, and but I've always left the gaps really. Now, to be honest, they're kind of hard work. You don't really make an awful lot from them, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is that being left hanging. It's
Yeah. And
a rejection feeling, isn't it? You know?
completely, because even there today now, part of me is like, honestly, the bit of stress I had just before I came on here, girls were just getting their lunch. I kind of had to half make, I said, girls, you're going to have to get the rest of your lunch. I said, I have to go on this call. Himself was here. It was stressful. And part of me went, oh, I could just quit the call now because there's no one there. And yesterday, people didn't come on until maybe 10 past. So if I had quit and they had showed up, I would have created, you know, oh, Martha's not going to show up. Why should I turn up the next day?
Yeah.
She may not be there, right? So it's just showing up. It's showing that you show up.
Mm.
You know, it's funny because even like sending out, let's say, our weekly emails or anything like that, even if people don't read them, seeing your name every week in the inbox, it's Martha Fraser, Martha Fraser, Martha Fraser, Tracy Garrity, Tracy Garrity, Tracy
Yeah.
Garrity, you know. So you're layering the foundations of trust and showing up, you know, and
And I
look
think
at,
there is the element of you're telling the universe, I'm here, I'm not just, you know,
no,
thinking that I want to do this. I am here and I'm doing my bit. Now you do your bit.
exactly. And there's a part actually, this book that I'm writing at the moment, I haven't written a page in 2 weeks, but there's one part that I talk about coming out of the comfort zone and into out of your comfort zone into your non-comfort zone, right? And moving forward. But if you can, because it's something exactly what you said there, taking a step forward, taking 10 steps back across the line again. For me, it reminds me of Dead Man Zone, right? Or, you know, where basically that if you hang out in this area, it can kill you between the two.
Mm.
Because that's I've gone through exactly what you've described myself, and I'm probably still doing it in many different areas of my own life. And one of the things that I'm beginning to use now is this visualization of like this invisible thread that will not allow you to go back. Just like baby, tiny steps. Like even if it's like being up against a storm, you know, which is your own resistance, like baby steps pulling you forward, you know. But yeah, I think they're kind of I guess the key things that I suppose I'm practicing is the showing up. And one of the phrases that came to me last year, and a friend of mine couldn't figure out why I thought this phrase was important, but it was important to me, and it was in spite of and because of. In spite of my fear and because of my fear, I will show up. You know, in spite of you know, whatever. I just think in spite of and because of, it's just, and it kind of goes back to that story we just talked about, the two boys, right?
Yes.
In spite of my father and because of my father, I will have a successful business, you know? So, yeah, so I think, oh my God, I think we've had a lot of ahas today.
Sometimes that's all you need to do in the day, and sometimes if that's all, it's like, yeah, that was food for thought and I feel better. I think that's a productive
Yeah.
really in
Yeah,
itself.
and just do you know what? I love this coffee break because every day is different. Every day we talk about different things, and depending on who comes on, it kind of tends to create whatever it is we talk about. Like yesterday, I didn't have the plan to talk about boundaries, but it was such a suitable conversation. It was really powerful actually. Um, and it gives people a chance as well to practice showing up and being seen, right? You know, even just hear you today, like this is kind of nearly like an interview, but it's not, it's a casual interview. You know, so you know, so everyone gets a chance to be seen, you know. But yeah, so I think have you anything else you want to add, Tracy?
No, I'm looking forward to our workshop tomorrow now as well. So I'll probably spend a little bit of time. I do have kind of, suppose I have a lot of, one of the things that I'm kind of doing is reaching out to warm leads. Just kind of felt an offering to do sort of maybe an online webinar. And it's just kind of had another few things that hopped into my head over the weekend. So, but yeah, I think I need to put my money where my mouth is and walk the walk now. Never
Walk
mind.
the walk, keep moving forward, and just like what you said there, if you get a nudge to do something, go for it. And it's funny because I think the nudges that we get right now are really important, and we need to give ourselves the space in our heads to listen and hear them and act on them, you know. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. So one of the things Tracy was talking about there is she's part of the S.O.S program. So I'm going to put the links. So basically, my name is Martha Fraser, which I meant to introduce myself at the start. I'm founder of the Global Online Stars virtual platform for entrepreneurs, and the S.O.S Get Your Business Online in 3 days, where we literally help you create your first digital product. So I'm going to put the links below. You can find those if you want to know more about them. It's been an amazing online coffee break. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yes,
and if you're watching back,
I'm so glad now that that other person stood me up.
there you go. You see, it's the universe.
And your email popped in just as I was getting out of the Zoom chat room, and I just went, "Oh, is it a bit too late?" And then I just thought, I'll just sneak in. She won't notice me.
So funny. No time.
Into the back of the room, you know.
No time for sneaking here. So I will challenge anyone who watches the replay of this, anyone who's been on the live call with us. Oh, here we go. I'll be out in a minute. I'm actually just, no, you can't. I'm just finishing up. No, you can't. Close the door. I'm getting better at saying no while I'm on the call, because they chance their arm. They really chance their arm. So anyway, I'm challenging you, if you're watching the replay of this and if you're on the show today, that you take the advice. I am now going to go to my calendar and set my 15-minute journaling time. I'll probably do it in the morning. And so let's watch the space of what comes up in our journal. And that might be another conversation. What has come up in your journal? Let's come back maybe in 7 days' time and see what's popping up in our journal. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much for joining in the Online Business Coffee Break, and I'll see you tomorrow sometime.
All right, see you tomorrow. Thanks, Martha.
Bye.